Hello everyone, Mary Rose here at Stitch Bliss Corner. Welcome. If you're first time here, pull up a chair. And for those who come back to join me occasionally, and the ones who come back more often, a warm welcome to you. It's the sun's breaking through the clouds today. It's been a bit overcast and quite muggy, but it looks like the weather is changing. It's supposed to be heading into autumn, what we call autumn in Australia. But the seasons here aren't as clear-cut as they are in some parts of the world, so you never quite know what's coming up next. Now today I want to talk about Maria Diaz, who a lot of stitchers will know her name. She's, how would you describe? Well, I have got some names, some words for her that I found, that came to me when I was having a look at Maria Diaz. I have got a few of Maria's designs, and for reasons that escape me, I still haven't stitched any of her designs yet, which is, I don't know why not, because they're beautiful, most of them. But anyway, probably because I've got a list from here to Peru of all the charts that are waiting my attention. Words to describe Maria: graciousness, modesty, quiet understatement as an artist, self-effacing and personable. And she certainly comes across that way. Now, a great inspiration for Maria's designs happened to be an artist called Alphonse Mucha. And I looked up the pronunciation of his name. There's a website you can go to that will tell you how to pronounce someone's name correctly. So that's how you spell his name, Alphonse Mucha. And he was born in 1860 and he died in 1939 at 78 years of age. Now, it's only a very small thing. It's not about Mucha, it's about Maria. But interestingly enough, Alphonse's middle name is spelled M-A-R-I-A, like Maria's name. So I thought that was an interesting coincidence. Now, he was born in Czechoslovakia and he attended the Munich Academy of Fine Arts. He also studied art in Paris. He worked at producing magazine illustrations and produced an advertising poster for the famous actress Sarah Bernhardt. And she loved the poster he produced so much that she gave him a 6-year contract. He produced advertisements, book illustrations, paintings, posters, jewellery, carpets, wallpaper, and scenery for the theatre. So he was obviously a very creative personality. Mucha's works frequently featured beautiful women in flowing neoclassical robes, surrounded by flowers which at times formed halos around their heads. Now, his contemporaries, the works that they produced for advertising tended to be fairly bright colours, but he was known for using pale pastel colours. Mucha wanted to distance himself from the neoclassicist association and insisted that rather than maintaining any fashionable stylistic form, his paintings were entirely a product of himself and Czech art. Well, he was influenced by Baroque and that sort of thing when he was growing up, so I guess all artists are influenced by something or someone. So his belief was that art existed only to communicate a spiritual message and nothing more. He was frustrated that his fame was gained more through his commercial art when he wanted the concentration to be on his own personal creations. So I'll just show you some of his work here, and then we can go on to Maria. Then here, this apparently it's got here cigarettes, and she has got a cigarette in her hand there. So whether that was a poster for a particular cigarette or from an actual packet of cigarettes, I don't really know. A mini wall calendar. Looks like mosaic there behind her. Right here. But there's, you can see where Mirabilia gets some of their design ideas from, or it looks that way anyway. What have we got here? White Star. Oh, champagne. That's for champagne. And I suppose being a commercial artist, whatever the shape of the product that you're advertising, that's the shape that your design is going to have. Oh, that's lovely. That's one, it is flowers there. And this one, I'm thinking, dance. Well, if it isn't this one, it's one very similar. It's one of Maria's absolute favourites. So anyway, that just gives you a taste of Mucha's work. And there is plenty to look at online. But I thought it was important for you to see what her influence, her major influence was. Now, I have some, this here is it's a magazine, but it's almost like a little book of her work, and I'm going to go through this because she makes comments about the different designs and why she did them and what inspired her. And I'm just going to now go through her life and what brought her to design cross-stitch patterns. Now, she actually trained as a silk screen printer. Now, I suppose I should get a picture here for you. There's Maria there. And she does look very personable, doesn't she? Now she says, she's always enjoyed craft and making things. And ever since she could remember, her grandmother, who was a dressmaker, taught her how to sew and embroider as a child. And her grandmother crocheted and knitted as well. So these grandmothers do have a great influence on their grandchildren. So I can imagine all the Flosstubers out there that are grandmothers that are having a great influence on the future of their grandchildren. She was also taught how to play cards by her grandmother, who was also a barmaid. So I should imagine her grandmother was quite a good communicator as well, because you have to have a pretty, what's the word, sensible head on your shoulders and quite a practical person to do a job like that and to do it well. Now Maria says that she was artistic but not particularly academic. She was determined to go to art school and grow up to be hugely famous. She saw herself as producing works of great importance from a New York loft apartment. Well, you mean you've got to have some kind of vision of where you're going, or else you won't make it, will you? She went to study in Leicester, and while she was there she got a holiday job, silk screen printing at the DMC factory. She said one thing led to another, and before long she was designing embroideries and learning to chart cross-stitch charts. On graduating, she was offered a full-time position at DMC and became their first in-house designer, because apparently a few jobs came in that required some designing. And since she was an art student, the DMC people said, well, you know, come over here, Maria, here's a pencil, carry on. So she did. Uh, she loved working with the DMC team, and there was a real family feel there where her skills were nurtured. She worked for the company for 8 years and was managing the design and development department. Now, she says she loved that job, but then she realised she was getting too far away from the creative side and more closer to the managerial side, which she didn't really want. It wasn't giving her the satisfaction that she wanted for her artistic skills. She therefore decided that the time had come to chance her own hand on her own and see what she could do. So she moved to London and freelanced, and she ended up as a specialist consultant on a needlecraft project. She soon started to gain regular magazine commissions, and things went from there. Now, the inspiration for her designs. She gets a seed of an idea, she says, and she enjoys researching a project. She says that she creates a pictorial story in her head, especially when working on figurative or animal pieces. She likes to give character to them and bring them to life. She is a huge fan of Art Nouveau, especially the work of Alphonse Maria, a Czech artist. Often the style of his paintings is reflected in her designs. Now, she says flower studies require a slightly different approach. With these, the colours, shapes, and the wonder of nature draw her in. Often it is those designs that she really struggles with at the beginning which turn out to be ultimately the most successful. Process from idea to actual design. She used to spend a lot of time in the library, but now she can research on her computer at home. She tends to sketch out her idea first and puts a rough outline on paper with some shading. She then scans the sketch and imports it into her specialist design software package. This is from a 2011 article, so probably things have moved even further since then. This enables her to trace over her sketch in stitches. She does all her colour work stitch by stitch on the screen and compares it to painting by numbers. Where do you work? And she says, after years of working in a tiny space in a box room or on the dining table, we eventually got enough together to build a garage at the end of the garden, a portion of which was converted into what she calls an amazing studio. I might have a picture of it here. I think there's a picture in here somewhere. I'll see if I can find it in a minute. It is large and bright, and she says it can accommodate all her junk. After I drop the boys at school, I make a cuppa and then head to work. I like to listen to the radio as I work, as it keeps me in touch with the outside world. She says she has to put alarms on her phone to remind her to collect the boys, as she can get so absorbed in her work that she loses all track of time. How does it feel seeing your designs being stitched by people the world over? And she says it's wonderfully encouraging to know that people enjoy what I do. I have spoken to people at exhibitions and been very humbled by their thanks and appreciation. It is lovely when people ask after my family. It always surprises me that I am so well known. And I suppose, in a small way, I have realised my dream of being famous. Now, there's just the last little bit here. And they say, what are your top tips for budding cross-stitch designers? And she says, perseverance is the key. You have to enjoy the process from start to finish, and don't be too precious about your designs. One of the most rewarding things I have found is how others personalise your patterns by changing colours of threads or adding beads. Once I have finished my process, the design then starts its own life and evolves in the hands of other stitchers. So there is an awful lot of humbleness and that understated modesty in her as a person, which is very refreshing. Okay, so that's Maria Diaz, the person. And we go on now to Maria Diaz, the designer, and some of her work here. Now, this is, I did look for a date. Oh, 2011 issue. There you go. So that was probably where I got the information. Well, actually, I think what happened was Harlequin went online and got a lot of information. And I would say that what I've just told you has been from this magazine. Now, she's got a picture here of her with her boys. I don't think I'll show that because, you know. Oh, I suppose she knew to go everywhere. It's very difficult when children are on there. I'd rather, I mean, I know they're older now, but you know what I mean. But here is a picture here of her dress there. That's her wedding dress. And it just shows the beading that she put on it. I thought that was interesting. Oh no, here it is, the dance. Yes, this is the one that I showed you before, Mucha's. What does it say here? Alphonse Mucha painted dance in 1898. This romantic Art Nouveau piece is Maria's favourite painting. Mucha's influences can be seen in so much of her cross-stitch work. Now there's also a picture of her here in her studio as well, so there she is. And there's Mucha's picture. Right. Now then. Now there's another page here with all her creations that are in this magazine. Whether it's feathers or fur that you love, Maria's got it covered with designs to make a charming companion for every season. And then we go through. Now, petals and purrs. Maria has captured the glint in this kitten's eyes wonderfully. You can see he's full of life and going to be into mischief at any second. The design itself is easy to stitch, as only a few fractionals are worked to shape the eyes. The combination of simple stitching techniques and bold colours make this an enjoyable project to complete. Now, I like the way she's outlined those petals there. Now, it does say backstitch, but of course you can catch all those. But rather than some of the designs I've seen, where you've got a rose like this, and then every actual edge of the stitch is edged so that it's like the teeth on a saw all round there, that gives it a very geometrically strange look to me. If you can get your petals to go like that, so they're more natural looking, I think it looks a lot better. Oh, that's my personal opinion, of course. I mean, some people might like it to be like that. Now she's got another one here, another cat. Holly and Whiskers. My sister-in-law had a new kitten last year, and we came home after an evening out to find the Christmas tree plus all the baubles and lights scattered all over the living room floor. So there she's done little Holly with Holly because it was Christmas time. And you can see how that little paw, you can almost see it sitting on that, softly on that snow, can't you? So that's little Holly. And of course the design is straight after the picture. Then she's got river birds. This riverside scene is wonderfully tranquil. Maria has plenty of memories to draw on for inspiration. I used to live in a cottage next to a canal, she explained. the ducks and swans would come right up to my door to be fed. So there's her riparian scene. Oh, she just gives some instructions about that. Now, chirpy visitors, these are just illustrations for cards, for aperture cards. And I have Kerry, the EDS Warrior Kitty Stitches, to thanks for that, because I didn't know they were called aperture cards. You know, those cards that have got circles cut out of them or squares cut out. And she was showing some once and mentioned they were called aperture cards. And I thought, that's what they're called. Feathered friends. I get quite a lot of birds visiting my front garden. Actually, my son loves watching them, and although we don't have a bird table, there is a lovely little robin who lives in the front hedge. And there's a picture of the birds there. And a dear little robin. So nice to feed the birds when it's wintry weather. Two little pigs. Aren't these adorable piglets? Just irresistible. Well, I suppose pigs are an acquired taste. You either like them or you don't. I'm not so sure about pigs, I have to say. You don't have to spend time in the country to appreciate this inspiring piece. The piglets seem to have taken on a character all of their own, and whether you make this up into a cushion or a frame picture, it's a pig-perfect design to stitch. Maybe it's Animal Farm that puts me off pigs. Which is wrong, because, excuse me, it's not their fault they got chosen to be the bad guys. Oh, excuse me. Now, crisp winter morning. Maria is well known for her ability to successfully capture animals in cross-stitch, and she has done a marvellous job here. She explains the effect she was after. I have tried to capture the cold, crisp feel of a winter morning. The horses would usually be wearing blankets, with it being that cold, but I have kept the picture as featuring just the natural elements. And of course she's got the snowdrops there in the foreground. Nice to see a bit of plant material there. Hey, there might be little primroses starting, I'm not sure. In the background, the trees with the snow on them. Right, so that's them. Autumn gatherer. Seeing a red squirrel gathering food in preparation for its long winter hibernation is a quintessential autumn scene, which has been beautifully depicted. What really adds to the effect here is the careful choice of thread colours that perfectly represent the squirrel's fur, plus the way the hand-dyed fabric gives the scene an even more natural feel. Of course, every piece stitched on a hand-dyed fabric will have a unique look, but it's worth trying, not just for this design, but for other projects that could benefit from it too. And here she is with that one. She says, an animal study that reflects a whole season is what I've tried to do here. The squirrel is captured gnawing a nut amidst the fallen leaves, with a subtle pattern behind of the turned leaves floating down. So she's just got the the feel of the leaves coming down. Her love of nature certainly comes through, doesn't it? Now we're going to landscapes. Relax and reminisce about all the beautiful places you visited with subtle shading and rich colours. They're a fabulous challenge. Oh, I like that one. In there. Anyway, we'll just go on. You'll be able to see it closer up. Remembrance fields. Stitch this relaxing picture of a lazy, hazy late summer poppy field, a perfect piece to work and quietly reflect on. The 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month is when we remember those who have fallen in battle, and of course we wear a poppy too. In creating this design, because this is English of course, Maria has captured a great deal of meaning in quite a simple picture. It draws you in while stitching, and then again gazing at your handiwork afterwards. Maria told us, it's more of a painting in thread than a landscape study. If you can, imagine big splotches of red oil paint rather than watercolour, thick, rich colour. No wonder poppies are used for remembrance. And how peaceful that looks. Beautiful. Is there anything extra she has to say? Spring lambs. The lambs have arrived. Leaves unfurl, blossom is erupting, and spring flowers burst into colour. It's a beautiful spring day. And after a long dark winter, it's always a joy to welcome the wonders of the spring, and Maria's scene captures so much of what makes the season so good. There's new life in the form of spring lambs gambolling along with their mums, while around them all sorts of plants are welcoming the warmer weather with new growth. And there are bluebells creating a luscious carpet of colour on the ground and blossom in the trees. So even if you can't get out to the country, the spring comes to you in stitches. Well, they do say that if you imagine somewhere, you are there. And that's one wonderful thing about stitching. If you see a beautiful piece of stitching, a scene or something like that, you close your eyes and that's where you are. It's in there. Sunset Trail. Take a walk in the woods with the snow crunching under your feet and enjoy the beauty of this winter sunset scene. Deer are shy and elusive creatures, usually bounding off into the woods at the slightest disturbance. Maria has captured this stag wandering down a trail and looking back to see us watching beautifully. In another few seconds he will be gone from the woods, leaving us with just the glow of the winter sun in the clouds and sky as it sets below the horizon. It's a perfect moment in time captured in stitches for you, and maybe it will bring back memories of your own time spent enjoying the beautiful sights that the natural world gives us. And there's a tremendous mood in that, isn't there? Lovely. So, bluebell wood. Spring arrives and enables us once again to take a gentle stroll through the glorious woodlands, now bursting with colour and life. Maria's bluebell wood could be anywhere in Britain or many other parts of the world, and represents more of a mood or feeling than a nature scene. As a metaphor, the path through the bluebells is our path through life, seeing the bright new possibilities emerging around us and celebrating the birth of new opportunities. Why not treat stitching this design as your own fresh start and take that walk with us into a beautiful tomorrow? Oh, why not? There's the path there. I have many, many childhood memories of going through the woods and looking at all the bluebells and primroses. Lovely. And Maria says, once again, I seem to have designed something that I feel evokes a specific mood or moment in time. I can practically feel the warm spring sun as it dances across the new leaves. Those lovely fresh days when an invigorating walk, or in my case a desperate attempt to wear out the children, just lifts your spirits. What a dear person she is. Oh, here we are. Now, Wisteria Cottage. You can't help but be transported by this beautiful cottage scene and picture yourself relaxing on the lawn as you admire the flowering wisteria. Yes, I think I could do with a bit of that. Nice cup of tea or coffee. A few scones or scones with jam. Lovely. And what have we got here? Florals. So we're going into the florals now. Celebrate new beginnings with the blossoms of spring, from traditional designs inspired by great artists to modern interpretations. Right. So now here is Maria's classic peony. It's given a fantastic modern makeover with bold colours and an ultra stylish frameless finish. An eye-popping floral wall decoration is a must-have for any stylish home, and when you can stitch something as professional looking as this gorgeous peony, who needs to go looking for an art print? The design's vintage pinks and greens are right on trend at the moment, and we've chosen to stitch ours on a lovely textured rustic Ada to give it that classic look. Mounting the finished design as a stretched canvas draws all the focus on the peony itself without the distraction of a frame. Well, that is big. Floral Fancy. Maria's tulip makes a stunning focal point for your home. It will brighten up any room and inject spring vivacity all year round. This shocking pink tulip is perfectly formed and ready to cheer up any tired decor. With its rich raspberry shades and realistic look, it will be a treat to stitch, as well as looking spectacular when it's finished and mounted on the wall. Despite its size, only whole stitches are used, so there's nothing too fiddly involved in the project. Just remember to separate your threads beforehand. We opted for a stretch canvas finish to make the most of the tulip's stylish angle. Stylish angle, actually. That petal there is well done, particularly. Right, so that's that one. What have we got here? Scarlet Statement. Bring an explosion of colour into your home with this dazzling poppy project. The flowers' vibrant reds and oranges will brighten any room. This is your chance to be inspired by the beauty of nature and create a really dramatic, eye-catching decoration to hang on your wall. We're bowled over by the striking colours, and to emphasise the rich reds, we decided to stretch our finished poppy over a canvas instead of framing it. Clusters of deep purple seed beads really bring the design to life, catching the light and giving it a natural feel. Try using a thread sorter to help distinguish between the stunning array of red and green shades. And yeah, she's got some, so there's some beads there, the longer ones, and then all those, that's all beading there. But see, if I have a whole lot of different shades when I'm stitching, I put a little square of put a little square of paper with the symbol on it. Say I've got, 4 pinks or something like that. I do a square for each pink shade, and I put the needle through so that it's on the thread, and I might just take the needle off and leave the thread in the work, and I know that that's the colour. I don't have to think, oh, is that, pale pink, or is it palest pink, or is it middle pink, or whatever, because I've got a little note on there to say which one it is. And that is really handy if you're doing 4 or 5 colours the same. It's similar. Anyway, that's just a little tip from me. That's if you could make any sense out of what I was saying. Fresh as a daisy. And this one, Maria says, I had a great time designing these. I like doing more modern fun things, so here I have stitched the daisies as if they were pressed flowers, with the excluded line creating a sort of negative border, which is greatly enhanced by the gold thread on the coloured fabric. So here's some daisies that she's done. And once again, she's opted not to go around each angle. She sort of does her outlines in a more loose way, which is what I like. What have we got now? Now this one is Maria was inspired by glass. I have a passion for the Art Nouveau and arts and crafts movements, celebrating the beauty of nature. With Tiffany glass, it has a painterly watercolour quality, which I've tried to portray in the shading. Yes, Tiffany. They make lamps and all sorts of things in that cut glass sort of style, don't they? In Art Nouveau style. So that they're nicely done. Now, William Morris appears to have influenced her as well. The work of William Morris in the 19th century is still inspiring today, and these bag and purse designs are great examples. What does she say? His legacy is that even now, more than a century after his death, we still find such beauty in his observations of the natural world, and we show it through our needlework. See if I can put that. That looks like it's been made into a bag. It's very William Morris-ish. Stitching in harmony. Oh, these are all inspired by William Morris as well. Right. Now we go on to the baby ones. And Maria does some beautiful baby charts. Sepia tones create a peaceful and soothing mood, perfect for capturing those special moments shared between newborn and mother. So here she's just shows the sepia tones there. And let's see what we have in here. Little Angel. Celebrate the most amazing moment in any parent's life with this unique and serenely captivating set of baby designs. Maria has stolen all our hearts lots of times before with her stunning baby pictures, and this set of designs is one of her best. Based on her own children's photographs and many fond memories, Maria has captured those special moments and quiet thoughts that every parent can identify with. which you can now recreate in stitches and keep forever. And she says, "This is my second son. When he was only a couple of days old, it was one of those precious moments as a mother. He had just been fed and changed, and I could just indulge myself in the joy of those early cuddles when you're not actually required to do any more than just embrace your baby." Absolutely lovely. Dear little thing. And that looks very much like Maria there, doesn't it? So that's that one. Then I can't really show you that one because it's got the there's one of, gosh, you do your best, the little feet down there. Tales from the Toy Room. Maria's put so much thought and detail into this design, from the horse's flowing mane to the little toys on the shelf and the rose wallpaper. It's the perfect addition to any child's room. The rocking horse is brought to life by different shades of brown. Maria has even included an alphabet so that your child's name can be added along the bottom of the rocking horse to personalise the piece. And that particular child's name is Elizabeth. That is very nice wallpaper. Just do the whole thing so you can just get a better picture of it. I'm getting towards the end now. Oh no, this is again a baby one. It's worked in 10 different shades of sepia. So my method of labelling each thread would be very handy if you were to stitch this piece. Then she's got a little oh yes, I can't really show you that because it's got the chart on the same page, but that's okay, it's just a little sampler with the letters of the alphabet. Now then, art. With strong influences from the arts and crafts movement and Renaissance paintings, Maria brings artists' masterpieces to life. Now she's got here this woman's head, known as La Scapigilata. Well, in brackets it says the uncombed or tousled, was painted by Da Vinci circa 1508 and now resides in Parma, Italy, in the Galleria Nazionale. Capturing the essence of a painting in cross-stitch is notoriously difficult, but Maria has done a wonderful job with this piece, superbly portraying, I'll just show you that one, speaking about it, superbly portraying the tranquil grace and beauty of the original, and using just 9 shades of thread. Maria particularly enjoyed the challenge of this piece. These sepia designs are a bit of a secret love of mine. Studying art, I was always particularly interested in preliminary drawings. They exhibit a freedom and honesty that is sometimes lost in final paintings. Well, that's true. You know, because you get the pencil going, and then you start to make it a bit more formal, and suddenly everything falls apart. Praying hands. Now, here we are. I've spoken about this one before in a previous video, and this is Maria's version. Based on a work by Albrecht Dürer, These hands clasped together in prayer are a truly iconic image. Dürer was a multi-talented artist, working as a painter, printmaker and engraver, but to our knowledge he never cross-stitched, so this is a first for him. Maria has taken the praying hands and turned it into a sepia cross-stitch that captures the essence of the piece beautifully on the Zweigart Cashel linen. The hands are actually a preparatory drawing by Dürer for the Helle altarpiece, which was destroyed by fire in 1729. The original drawing was created in around the year 1508 in Vienna. So, I think there's the last one coming up now, and it's a very fitting last one. The Madonna and Child. I'll show it again in a moment, but I'll just read this. It says, create your own biblical scene by cross-stitching this serene interpretation of an Italian Renaissance masterpiece. Now and again, you come across a design that stops you in your tracks and makes you go, wow. And this beautiful Madonna and Child design, inspired by Bernardino Luini's painting, Infant Asleep, certainly has the wow factor, she says. Well, I don't know if she said it. It might be the person that's writing this little piece. Maria explains that she was drawn to the painting not because of its history, but simply because she is a mother. Oh, I love this painting. Can't you just tell I am a mother of boys? There is nothing lovelier than them falling asleep while you're cuddling them, and it is the only time they actually sit still enough for a snuggle these days. Well, that's where the term boisterous came from, isn't it? Well, can't you say that anymore these days? A closer look. If you hadn't become a designer, which career path do you think you would have chosen? And she said, I started on my cross-stitch career while studying for a fine arts degree, so my aim as a 19-year-old was to become the female Andy Warhol, living in New York and clubbing with the rich and famous, the ideals of youth. But I don't think it would have made me happy. I feel so lucky. I love my work, and I get to stay home with my children. But when they're playing up, it's nice to daydream. Yeah, so there's the picture. Beautiful. I love the way she's mirrored them as. So beautiful. Right, let's just see if there's anything else here. No. So that's the ultimate Maria Diaz cross-stitch collection there. Now, I have got 3 Maria Diaz pieces that, a la Bendy Stitchy, I have pulled out of some magazines. So the first one is this one, Pretty as a Peacock. So in order to get this, if you just put in the comments, I would like to stitch the peacock. Okay. Now, and I'll put your name into the drawer and Mr. Snack can do his work. Then Spring Beauty. And you can see the Mucha influence there. I would like to stitch Spring Beauty. And Madonna and Child. I would like to stitch Madonna and Child. It just happens to be, it happened to be in another magazine. I didn't take it out of that one that I just showed you. I've already have that in there. So I have 2 copies. So you can enter for all 3, but you can only win one of them. So, you know how it works. So, so there's, I would like to stitch Madonna and Child. what's her name? Spring Beauty. I would like to stitch Spring Beauty. I would like to stitch Pretty as a Peacock. And I'll do what Michelle does. I'm just going to fold it and put it in an envelope. So if you're offended by that, just don't enter in. So very good. How long's that gone for? Oh, nearly an hour. Amazing. Well, I wanted to do Maria justice because really she is a gift to us, along with many other designers. But I think Maria has that special little something in there that if you're stitching one of her designs, then you're getting more than the picture. You're getting a whole feeling of perhaps being transported somewhere else. Yeah, which is the ultimate freedom, isn't it? I mean, you can always, people can put you anywhere, but in your head you can go wherever you want to go, and your world can be whatever your world you want it to be. That's the thing. I mean, the world's not going the way I would like these days, but in my head I can have the world that I like. So I'll have to be content with that time. All right, well, thank you so much for your company. I shall see you again next time at Stitch Bliss Corner, and until then, happy stitching to all of you. Bye for now.